Talk Radio 790 KABC, The John Phillips Show, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wangs at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, we told you that over the weekend, Kamala Harris sat down for a 35-minute interview with CBS News' Margaret Brennan. And I watched the entire thing. And after watching that 35-minute interview, one thing was crystal clear to me. Kamala Harris is very clear.
And we have been very clear. What I am clear about, and we're very clear about that, and we've been very clear in all of our discussions. We are all absolutely clear. Many, and most, are very clear also. It is very clear that clearly the president has been clear, I have been clear.
She's so clear, she just converted to Scientology.
That was like 20 clears.
I'm telling you, it's the same thing with her that it is with California politicians with the term accountability. Some guru somewhere poll tested the word and found that it does well with some demographic they're having trouble with, and that's why it's coming out of their mouths like machine gun fire.
Instead of jail time, it's
not just about money. It's about damn accountability.
800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Coming up later on in the program, we're going to speak with one of the presidential candidates. I think this will be the second presidential candidate that we've had on. We spoke with Larry Elder. Well, we speak with Larry Elder all the time, who, of course, is a friend of the show and longtime voice here in Southern California. But today, Randy, we're going to have the governor of North Dakota on.
That's right, Doug Burgum, the guy that tore his Achilles before the first debate.
Playing basketball with his staff, if I recall correctly.
Yes, and the one thing we're going to find out in this interview later on this hour is, will Doug Burgum become the second presidential candidate to curse on this show?
Was Larry technically a candidate when he cursed, or was it before he declared?
No, this was after he declared.
Well, John, as I've told you before, unless Joe Biden can can screw up a mirror.
Larry,
you're on the freaking radio.
I said screw up.
Well, if he did swear, he'd be like about 85% of our guests.
People like to blast away on this show.
I don't know what it is. You don't swear. I don't swear. For the most part, we use the Queen's English.
Until we're in a commercial break.
That's true. But whenever we invite some dignitary on the show to offer their perspective, suddenly they reveal their inner Andrew Dice Clay.
You know, I would take it as a compliment. I think people just feel very comfortable with you. And so they don't even realize they're on the air. They think they're just on the phone with a buddy.
And the swearing is just casual, too. Very rarely do they swear at us. Usually they're just swearing with us.
Yeah, it's not ever directed at you or me. It's just, this is how people are these days. Like Tom McClintock, right? This is a sitting California congressman.
This state has gone bat crazy.
And Alex Michelson, top news anchor here in Los Angeles. He did it, too.
I didn't save that one. I felt bad. He had done the show on his day off. He was enjoying himself.
All right. But first, it's time to open up the KABC Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, today's edition takes us to Los Angeles.
Specifically, Beverly Grove, which up until recently was the nice part of Los Angeles. No longer, though, as the next victim of a home invasion burglary happened to be a rabbi who was sleeping.
You know, Randy, we call that equity. Since we can't clean up the bad neighborhoods, to make everything equal, we have to make the good neighborhoods bad, too.
For more on this incident in Beverly Grove, we go to KTLA.
A terrifying break-in in the middle of the night. A bold burglar enters a home in Beverly Grove.
Good use of alliteration there.
Well, if there was any more alliteration, this story would have to be read by Mark Brown.
A bold burglar enters a home in Beverly Grove while a family is sleeping inside. The suspect swipes cash and a set of keys and then takes off in the family's car that was parked in the driveway.
Hey, used their own car as the getaway vehicle.
That actually happened to me one time.
Oh, really?
In Garden Grove, I must have been 5 years old. We had a cat burglar who came in, broke in through the living room window, took the keys of my dad's car off the counter, opened up the garage door, and drove away in his car.
Oh, man.
And it was all caught on security camera. KTLA Sandra Mitchell live in Beverly Grove, where she spoke with the victims. It's a story you'll see only on 5. Sandra.
That's because all the other TV stations are in the valley and they don't want to deal with the traffic.
And Oakland's keeping them busy.
Micah, we are less than a mile from the Beverly Center. To give you some idea of what this neighborhood is like, the house that was burglarized belonged to the rabbi of the synagogue that is just behind us. That rabbi tells us he is really outraged. Says
they stole from a man of God, John.
You know you're going to hell if you steal from a rabbi.
Says the thief was inside his house for about 20 minutes. He and his wife never woke up.
All right, what did they have the night before?
Maybe it's that Jimmy Buffett song. The gummy started to kick in.
And then he opened it. He was enough time to get in.
Rabbi Moshe Nurola examines the damage where a burglar broke into his Beverly Grove house while he and his wife were asleep inside.
Coming middle of the night, just bombarding somebody's house and just to steal what from somebody's house. That's insane. You know what I mean?
Their house has an alarm.
This poor rabbi.
Their house has an alarm system.
If only the rabbi could have gotten to this young man earlier in his life, could have put him toward the right direction.
Well, he seemed pretty good-natured about it. If I was the rabbi, I'd go Old Testament on him.
Oh, just wait.
Just bombarding somebody's house and just to steal what from somebody's house. That's insane, you know what I mean?
Their house has an alarm system and security cameras, but that did not deter the burglar. The alarm was not activated. And
Wait a second.
Okay, they deserve a refund.
Well, I don't know if it's on that. I don't know if it's on the security company. I take that as they didn't turn it on.
Why would you not turn it on? The entire newscast is just a crime blotter.
Again, what was going on the night before?
Did not deter the burglar. The alarm was not activated. And Sunday morning about 3:30.
Yeah, you can't call the security company and say, hey, the alarm didn't go off. Did you turn it on?
The alarm was not activated. And Sunday morning about 3:30, the thief jumped a locked gate and wandered around the backyard before slipping inside.
He came in from the back door. The police said that he pried open the door. He came inside. He took the wallet. He went upstairs where I was sleeping in my bedroom. It's mortifying.
It wasn't until the next day that the Nurolas discovered they were victimized. The rabbi was already at morning prayer at the Beit Aaron JFK Minyan Synagogue.
In the morning, I get up, go to the synagogue, to the shul, and then all of a sudden my wife comes and says, hey, where is the car? I said, I didn't take it.
The burglar had...
They didn't realize till the morning after. Hey, the car's gone. She had to go visit him in shul.
Burglar had swiped the keys from their house and after sauntering around outside, calmly backed out of the driveway in this silver Honda SUV and drove away.
The community is not safe anymore. It's really, you don't understand what's going on.
Through a tracking device, the Nurolas discovered the car was in Bakersfield. LAPD says another car stolen from the same neighborhood Sunday morning.
Wait, is that where they go to dump the vehicles now?
Okay, shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't we be shipping our trash to Bakersfield instead of Bakersfield shipping their trash to us?
It's mutually exclusive.
Through a tracking device, the Nurolas discovered the car was in Bakersfield. LAPD says another car stolen from the same neighborhood Sunday morning also was tracked to Bakersfield, but right now they have not recovered the car, and there are no suspects.
You know, if you go to a country like, Saudi Arabia, if you steal, they chop your hand off.
Whoa!
Okay, he eventually did get to the Old Testament.
When you have a rabbi advocating for Sharia law, that's when you know things have gotten a little too far in Los Angeles.
You know, if you go to a country like, Saudi Arabia, If you steal, they chop your hand off. I'm not saying they should do that, but if they would make the law a little bit harsher, people, they would learn not to steal.
How do you think he voted on 47?
My guess is he voted the same way we did.
The rabbi tells me he is very grateful that he and his wife did not wake up. He says they weren't injured, and he cannot imagine what would have happened if he would have confronted the burglar. We're live in Beverly Grove. I'm Sandra Mitchell, KTLA 5 News. Mike and MB, back to you.
That's a very good point, because so many times when we cover these stories, we talk about whatever items were stolen. In this case, it was the gentleman's car. But if you wake up in the middle of the night because you hear a noise, or you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and there's some intruder in your house, that can go sideways fast.
That situation can get real ugly.
All right. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, a lot of people have emailed us about our interview with the woman that owns the the jewelry store in El Monte that got robbed in a smash and grab, and they're asking, where can we listen to it? I missed it, but I heard about it. Randy, if you want to listen to that interview, it's easy to do.
That's right. Go to KABC.com, click on podcast, go to the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can search for The John Phillips Show on YouTube. Either way, just scroll down to the shows that we posted on Thursday, September 7th, and look for the hour titled Rosanna Mesa. And that is the interview that has captured the hearts of this community, because she did not deserve what happened to her, but her family fought back. It's an incredible interview. So give it a listen. If you've heard it before, give it a second listen. If you've heard it twice, I don't know, send it to a friend.
We've also received a number of requests to turn something she said into a drop. And I don't know if that would be appropriate, though.
You know, I thought about it over the weekend, and I decided there are a lot of things that we turn into drops on this show. It's not going to be that. That's where I draw the line.
And it was her talking about the burglar, and she said he was a big fat guy.
There were a few. But she was, suffering during that interview. It was traumatizing for her. I don't want to do anything that could trigger those feelings again if she happened to listen in the future. Don't worry. There are plenty of things that we could turn into drops on this show.
That's your final warning.
And sharing is caring. If you want one of those drops, just email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, and Randy would be happy to send them to you.
Any drop, any song, whatever you want, I'll make an MP3 for you. johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That is our gift to you for listening to this show and giving us a reason to make money.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Chance the Rapper. It's Acid Rap, the 10-year anniversary show at the Kia Forum on September 21st. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets are furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
And Randy, later on this week, we're going on the road.
That's right. It's only a couple days away. On Friday, September 15th, this Friday, John and I from noon to 3 will be broadcasting live at the Gelson's in Century City. That Gelson's in Century City at the Westfield Shopping Center has a wine bar. We're going to be down there, so come on down, have lunch with us. I hear the burger is incredible. You got to get down there and try it. Maybe do a tasting, maybe grab a beer. You know, actually, it shows on the menu what's the perfect pairing. I love that. But we're going to be down there. There's going to be giveaways. We're going to take pictures. It's going to be a wonderful, beautiful Friday in Century City. So come on down, noon to 3, the Gelson's in Century City this Friday. See you there.
You know, politicians study different ways to relate to the common man. Politicians are typically, well, they're not typically, it's always a popularity contest whenever you put your name on a ballot, because you have to get more votes than the other guy. Otherwise, you don't win and you don't take over the office. When I was watching the first Republican debate for the presidency, there was one candidate on stage that I could absolutely relate to. And I could relate to this candidate because when the shutdown happened here in California, and they closed down the movie theaters, they closed down all the sporting events, everything that we'd like to do, one of the things that I did to kill time was I went from running 3 days a week and about 3 miles a run to 7 days a week and 7 miles a run. And about 2 weeks after that, my Achilles tendons both gave out. Severe tendinitis in each one, and I'm still hobbling around because they haven't fully healed. Well, before the debate, I read in the paper that one of the candidates could theoretically not make the debate because he injured his Achilles tendon before the debate exercising with his staff. That individual is the governor of North Dakota, and he's kind enough to join us. Doug Burgum, candidate for the presidency. Welcome.
John, great to be with you, and I hope your Achilles are feeling better.
Now, what happened to you? Was it tendinitis, or did they actually snap?
No, I ruptured my Achilles playing basketball. I've played basketball my entire life. I've been on the court 3 different times when teammates or other players have blown their Achilles. And, of course, the nation got to watch it happen last night with Aaron Rodgers. So it's not a fun thing to have happen. But I've got no complaints. I've made it my whole life climbing mountains, playing basketball, going to basketball camps, playing in adult leagues, even barefoot water skiing into my 50s. Never have had 1 ounce of pain in either Achilles. So when I blew it, I was way past my mileage warranty, and I'm grateful for my knees and my ankles have been done great service for me my entire life.
Well, given the circumstances, you did a great job up there. I know if it were me, I'd be more loaded than Hunter Biden.
Well, when we did the walkthrough trying to find out if we could actually do the debate, one thing I did ask was, I said, hey, are these podiums actually like bolted to the floor? Because I'm going to be standing on one leg back here hanging on to this thing, and everybody wants to have their moment in debate. I thought mine could be when I knocked over my podium, and then it was a domino effect, and all 8 of them went down.
All right. So you are a candidate for the presidency. Your day job is being the governor of North Dakota. A lot of people here in California are just starting to learn about you. Why should you be the next president of the United States?
Well, just to steal a headline from George Will, who I met this summer, he said, hey, here's the most qualified candidate we've ever had for president, but you've never heard of him. Because I think that to be the president of the United States, you've got to understand how the economy works. You've got to understand how the world works. You've got to understand how energy and agriculture works, because those are key parts of the global economy. And you've got to understand about working families and how they work. And just through the experiences of my life, growing up in a small town where every job I had, working on the farm, the ranch, the grain elevator, even working as a chimney sweep to pay my way through college, were all jobs where I took a shower at the end of the day. My dad, World War II Navy vet, he passed away. My mom, single mom with 3 kids, widowed. She went back to work. I had a front row seat of seeing what it was like for her to put food on the table and gas in the car, like a lot of Americans are struggling with today. And then after the miracle of getting admitted into the Stanford Graduate School of Business and having a great opportunity to live in California for 2 years, I got in really at the very beginning, got to see what was the beginning of Silicon Valley, and met all the amazing entrepreneurs, from Steve Jobs on down that helped transform the whole world we live in today. And I had an opportunity after working in Chicago for 3 years to take a bit of farm ground that I got from my dad. I literally bet the farm, and that became the seed capital for a software company called Great Plains Software. And we served hundreds of thousands of small businesses around the world. We went from 10 kids in North Dakota to a 2,000-person company, went public, got bought, by Microsoft for $1.1 billion. And I got a chance to really see what innovation does for America and what it does for customers and partners. And then in 2016, open seat for governor and said, hey, we need someone with a business background to actually be in that job. And we were the long shot, down 60 points in the poll. We ended up winning the governor race in North Dakota in 16, reelected in 20 by over 40 points each time. And we've done that because we work for everybody. I'm not a politician in the sense of I ever want to never will be a senator or a congressman. I'm not put a jersey on and lob bombs at the other side. How can we use innovation to create solutions that improve every American life? How can we do that in a fiscally conservative way that makes sense for taxpayers? How do we treat taxpayers like customers? And that's what we do, and it turns out it works. And so I know that with the combination of both proven success in government, in lowering costs, improving services, proven success in dealing with the cyber war we're in, and with the actual Cold War we're in with China, because being in the software business, I mean, 1989, I was a kid in China, and they were selling our software for $1 in a street market, and we were trying to sell it for $5,000. I mean, every piece of software I've ever made has been pirated by the Chinese. So I've got this unique combination of skills, private sector, public sector, and background experience around character, integrity, trust, honesty, and all of those things is where we're on the ground. People are saying that's what we need in a president, somebody we can trust, somebody we know that's got the confidence to do the job, and someone that's got the vision for a better America.
You mentioned that you are the governor of North Dakota. James Madison once said that states are laboratories in democracy, where you can try an idea out in one state, and if it works, great, other people can copy it. And if it doesn't work, you don't wreck the entire country because it's limited to whichever state enacted the policy. During COVID-19, a state like California was shut down. We had our economy essentially shut down. The schools were shut down for a very long time for on-campus instruction. Restaurants were shut down. Our lives were really turned upside down by the government. Recently, Gavin Newsom went on Meet the Press and said that he would do pretty much everything differently if he had an opportunity to do it over again. You were governor in your state through COVID-19. Did you shut down your state, or did you keep it open?
We were, all the records will show when they do the what I'm going to call it, the post-after-action report, that we were among the most open states in the nation. And we strive to keep everything open. And we, of course, every state's got to approach it differently. We had some specific challenges because we've got, at the time, older population, a lot of congregate nursing home across our state. Every small town, the largest employers in nursing homes, so a lot of people over age 65. We got long lifespans living there. We very much focused on what we called the vulnerable population, and let's make sure we protect those folks that are really vulnerable to this, and everybody else, let's keep things going. We got to keep the economy going, keep schools open, keep businesses open, keep everything going in our state. And that combination worked super well for us. And then we're able to divert some of the, the COVID dollars that came towards other things that, workforce and childcare and things that really mattered, for essentially even going. So we feel great about where we are. And now here we are, our economy's sprinting. We've got the highest GDP of almost any country or any state in the nation. I agree with James Madison and with you, John. I mean, I think of the 50 states as platforms of innovation and the things that we've been able to innovate. And then here we are in education, came out this last week, North Dakota, right at the top of the highest median SAT scores in the nation. So we've got things going in North Dakota. I cut $1.7 billion pre-COVID out of the state government. That's 27%. I cut 27% out of the general fund in North Dakota. All the trains kept running on time, but that's what happens when you put somebody with a tech background who knows how to operationally drive improvements. You can make these things happen.
We're speaking with North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, who you can find online at dougburgum.com and follow on Twitter at Doug Burgum. Governor, fentanyl is killing our population here in California, and it's contributing to our rise in crime and our exploding homeless crisis that's not just plaguing Skid Row. It's all over the state, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, you name it. We have a massive homeless population. None of the politicians here will regard themselves as being pro-fentanyl. Everyone's against fentanyl. But when they say they're against fentanyl here in California, they don't take it the next step. They don't say, we're going to make dealing fentanyl a serious crime, and we're going to find the people who are doing it, and we're going to put them in prison for a long time. They don't want to do anything about the southern border, which is where so many of these drugs are coming in. How has your state dealt with the fentanyl crisis, and what would you do as president to stop it?
Well, this is, John, I'm so happy for this question because this is at the top of the priority and very personal for myself and very personal for everybody in America who's lost a family member. Under Joe Biden, we're now crossing the threshold here, 2.5 years into his term as president. We've lost 5 Vietnams worth of casualties, mass casualties. I say that because there was 107,000 overdose deaths his first year, 110,000 overdose deaths the second year, and they're on track to break that again this year. 70% of those are fentanyl poisonings. I won't even call them overdoses because it could be the first pill anybody ever took could kill them. There's no real appropriate dose of fentanyl when it's laced in other drugs. And it's personal because the First Lady of North Dakota, Catherine, most courageous First Lady in America, she struggled with addiction for 25 years, and she's now been in recovery for 21 years, and part of her platform is eliminating the shame and stigma of addiction. But when she talks about her struggles and her addiction, people come up and share with her their loss. And we've been on the campaign trail. We've had parents come up to us after small events in New Hampshire and say, we lost our son to a fentanyl overdose, and he wasn't an addict. He had dinner with us and bought a $30 Percocet on the street and went up and went to bed. The next morning, we thought he was sleeping in. We found him dead in his own bedroom. I mean, this is happening. These are the 300 a day, John, sons and daughters, nieces and nephews. If we had an airplane go down today with 300 losses, 300 people dying, 300 tomorrow, 300 the next day, by the time we got to the weekend, there'd be no flights happening. All of America would be saying, we've got to stop this. And we just, day in and day out, losing 300 Americans, and we're not doing anything. And I know that because down at the border, I was just down there in August. We've got 2 deployments of North Dakota National Guard down there, one that's flying night operation Lakota helicopter flights in support of the Border Patrol from San Diego to the Gulf Coast. Their whole mission, they're not trying to stop a starving family from Venezuela crossing the country. They're working against the transnational criminal organizations that are multi-billion-dollar organizations that are super well-funded. And we got another group down there that's just helping out Governor Abbott. We have an open border. The equivalent of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Delaware, Joe Biden's home state, throw in Montana. That's about 6.5 million people in those 6 states, every man, woman, and child. That's how many asylum seekers have come over and been processed. That doesn't count the people that they officially list as the gotaways, the ones they see on camera but don't process. So the number's even higher than that. And it's the most unreported story in America. And I'm so glad you even asked the question because I don't know how we go in and day out. Joe Biden took him 2 years to get to the border. When I'm president, I'll be down there in 2 weeks. And talking to the Border Patrol, law enforcement, who are being defunded effectively, they know how to close the border. It's not some secret. The Border Patrol people that have been doing it for a lifetime, they give us the tools, the equipment, the technology, and the funding. We've had a secure border before. We'll give it to you again. I would trust that we can make that happen.
Why do you think Biden refuses to enforce our immigration laws? And I say that because it's not that he can't. He's choosing not to. Is it because he assumes that when they come here, they're going to vote for Democratic candidates and they'll benefit from it politically? Or is it just that the Democratic Party racializes every subject to the point to where they're paralyzed to do anything about it because they regard enforcing our immigration laws as being inherently racist?
Yeah, it could. I can't explain it, John. I've been down there. I literally don't understand. It doesn't make sense on either of those levels, but it could be both of them. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, it's not. If you wanted to do the right thing from a humanitarian standpoint, you wouldn't allow a humanitarian crisis to continue because that's what it is. When the morning I was down there weeks ago, there 3,000 people in a facility for 1,000, and then we're not going to separate families. Well, it's not just people from Latin America. In the one segment I was in, there was people from 98 countries that had crossed, including terrorist watch list countries like Syria, like Iran, like China. We've got all of these things that are happening. And then literally the Border Patrol told me in a briefing that because we don't separate families, they come in and say, well, this adolescent is actually my relative. The person is on the terrorist watch list. They can't separate them. And so then they're released into the country. I mean, there will be consequences down the road because of who's being let into our country. And it's astounding to me. And we can't have national security without border security. That's got to be one of the first priorities that we have. But when we're in a Cold War with China and they're supplying the fentanyl and we're in a cyber war every day with them and we're doing nothing. Basically ignoring that whole problem. So part of the reason that I'm running is because economically, whether it's inflation, price of gas, here in California, driving by something this morning, $6 a gallon, it's $2.50 in North Dakota. And it's like, Americans are paying too much for everything. Our borders are too insecure. Our energy policy is completely backwards. We're buying energy. We should be selling energy to our friends and allies as opposed to them buying it from our adversaries. And we could solve that problem. These are all things that we can fix and fix quickly with a change in policy.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think there's any more important of an issue right now facing the country than our open border. Because when you start knocking those dominoes over, we talked about fentanyl. Fentanyl is an issue that is inherently tied to an open border and the ability for cartels to make money by shipping those drugs into this country. I'll give you another example. The mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, recently came out and said that the open border and the number of people who are moving into New York City on a daily basis, the number of migrants that the city is responsible for taking care of, it's blowing his budget. He's going to have to cut services for the people of New York who pay the bills, and he's going to have to cut them dramatically. I don't think the average Joe thinks this thing through and understands what is going to happen to the budgets of state and local governments when buses filled with people just show up at your doorstep and you're responsible for taking care of them. These budgets cannot handle it.
No, they can't. And there's violent clashes going on in New York. We were there 2 weeks ago, just around Labor Day, when the story you're talking about was unfolding, and it's just amazing to me. I mean, they're talking about not a couple people. I think they were dealing with 75,000 people that they didn't have housing or support for, and everybody's like, "Wow, those services are going to people that entered the country illegally," and it's so unfair because many Americans know someone who's been waiting for a decade to legally enter our country. They've got relatives here, they can't visit, and then we've got talented people on the other end, on the high skilled side of immigration, that are here working in places like California and Silicon Valley, or even in Fargo, North Dakota, and then we're sending them home while we're letting others just cross, undocumented. And then meanwhile, Canada comes in, and we're in a race. I mean, we're competing against, like I said, for China. Innovation's going to win. And we have the opportunity to have the best and the brightest in the world come to America and come here and be part of our country and help build our future. Canada's picked off 1 million people whose student visas acquired, and then we won't let them into the U.S. And Canada's saying, pay a fee, come on up here, we'd love to have you. I mean, they're juicing their economy with talent, and we're going actually the complete opposite direction.
Last question before you go. I'd like you to comment on the actions of one of your fellow governors. The governor of New Mexico recently came out and said that the Constitution is not absolute. And if she declares a state of emergency, she can eliminate whichever constitutional rights you have that she wants to eliminate. In the case of New Mexico, she wants to get rid of your Second Amendment right to have a gun on your person in Albuquerque. What do you make of what she did, and do governors have the right to do that?
There's no court that's going to rule that a governor can take away the rights that are granted to Americans in the Constitution. And in North Dakota, we're doing exactly the opposite of what is happening in New Mexico. I mean, in 2021 alone, we were already a pro-Second Amendment state. In 2021, I passed nine more bills that strengthen Second Amendment rights in North Dakota. And we've just kept on going. My entire term that's been there just keeps strengthening it because it's a constitutional right of every American. And so in our state, we're going to make sure that we've got that. So I just find it stunning, and I'm sure the courts are not going to support it. And it's sort of, to me, inconceivable, something I can't even believe that most governors would even think of.
North Dakota Governor and candidate for president Doug Burgum. You can get him online at dougburgum.com and follow him on Twitter at Doug Burgum. Governor, thanks so much for stopping by, and best of luck in the race.
John, thanks for being on. Thanks for all you do, and love being on with you and hope to be on with you again. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great time in California. The governor of North Dakota, everyone, Doug Burgum. All right, we've got 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California hour is next. Don't you go anywhere. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC.